to the database, and we will see what is the, say for example, for taking the backup, or the backup depends upon the recovery what we want. For example, say in the database world, as you guys are already working as a DBA, there is only two scenarios which a DBA will be preferring. One is a complete recovery, and another one is an incomplete recovery. So what's the difference between the complete recovery and incomplete recovery? Can somebody give me an answer? What do you mean? What do you understand by the difference between a complete and incomplete recovery?
Complete recovery is total loss, so we are recovering everything from backup. So that's called complete recovery. Incomplete recovery is we lost one data file, for example, and we are recovering one data file. So that's called the incomplete recovery.
Okay. Any other explanation? See, that is actually, I mean, it is not 100% accurate answer. Say, complete recovery or incomplete recovery with respect to the database or with respect to the business is that whether a data loss is there or not. Whether you lost the entire database or you lost a partial database, that's not the question. Say, a user or the application was connecting to the database and working, and the database was lost or crashed at say 4 o'clock. Okay, then will be able to recover and give the database exactly up to 4 o'clock. Then that recovery or that kind of recovery is known as a complete recovery. You got my point?
Yes, got it.
And if any data loss is there, say it is for even a minute also, then incomplete recovery. Right? So here, when you wanted to do a complete recovery, which means you have to restore from your backup. Say every organization will be having their own backup strategy. Certain organization will be having a weekly backup and then every day incremental backup. Or with respect to the incomplete recovery, or for the complete recovery, another common requirement for a complete recovery is that the database should be in the arc-lock mode. Why means, say Oracle, when you say Oracle is a kind of database which is very strict on the consistency of the database. The consistency in the sense, whenever a change is happening on a database, the changes are being updated by an incremental value known as the system change number, or SCN. Okay, so a consistent database is a database where the SCNs are same. SCNs are where? SCNs are there in the control file. SCNs are the same in the SCN of the control file. The header of the control file is having an SCN. The header portion of the data file is having an SCN. The header of each individual data, the redo log files is having an SCN. So when the SCN of all the three things are same, then that database is known as a consistent database. Okay. So how Oracle is maintaining the consistency? Periodically, in a definite interval, Oracle does a process, or Oracle has a background process on a checkpoint. That checkpoint will be inducing the writing of modified buffer from the database buffer to the data file. So all the committed changes which are there in the buffer will be written back to the data file. So the database will become consistent. So when you open the database, Oracle will be checking whether this SCN of all the three areas, that is a control file, data file, and the redo log files are same. If it is same, then it will allow the database to be opened. But if it is not same, then it will go for a instance recovery, or go for a media recovery. So what's the difference between an instance recovery and media recovery? So assuming that, say, let's take a example. You're able to see the whiteboard, right? Yeah. So let's say this is our three areas of our database. Okay. So this portion, the first line, I'll say that this is control file. And this is data file. Okay, and this is the redo log file. Okay, now this guy is having an SCN of say 300, and this guy is having an SCN of 350, and this is at 320, which means the SCN of all the three are different now. Okay, so when now the only option for Oracle is that make the SCN on all the places same. So SCN cannot be rolled back. That means from the 350 it cannot come to 300 or 320. So the only option is that make or reapply the changes so that the SCN of the control file will become 350. The SCN of the read log files will become 350, and all the three things become the same 350, and then the database will become a consistent database. Am I clear in this point?
Yes.
Okay. So what Oracle will do? So there are two options, as I explained. There are two options. Is that one is at instance recovery, and other one is at a media recovery. So the changes that is required to make all these portions to be consistent, if that changes are there on the online redo log files itself, then the database will do a recovery without a DB interference, and that type of recovery is known as instance recovery. Okay, but due to some reason, assume that our data file is lost, or like I say, you have some issues with or some corruptions with the database. So corruptions with the database, and you restore the database. So you restore the database. Say when you restore the database, the data file SCN is at 150. Assuming that we have had a backup on Friday and or a Sunday, and this database crashes happened on Tuesday. So SCN on the data files which you restored from our backup is at 150, which means this is out of sync. Now what happens is that if the database to be opened, then the SCN of the data files should change from, or should be incremented from 150 to 320 or 300. What are the common SCN? In this case, the highest one is 320. So which means it needs the archeolog files which are not there, or the informations or redo informations which are not there in the redo log file, which means it has to receive from the backup. So when Oracle needs the application of the archeolog files, in that case, that type of recovery is known as a media recovery. Am I clear here? So based on what type of, so here we can say that if, say, due to some reason, if there is some issues happening to the archeolog files, say for example 150 to 320 it's applying. So if it is applying, and if it can give back the database, or the recovery can give back the database without any data loss, then we are doing a complete recovery. But if there is a data loss is there, how the data loss will be coming? Suppose when we are making the database SCN to be changed from 150 to 320 by reapplying the changes on the archeolog files. But due to some reason, say we missed out one archeolog file, one of our archeolog file is corrupted. In that case, say we can recover, or we have the archeolog file information only up to 200. After that, the archeolog file is missing. The archeolog file which we took the backup, that itself is got corrupted. In that case, you cannot go beyond the 200, which means you are going to have a data loss. So this type of recovery, where in which there is a data loss is there, that type of recovery is known as a incomplete recovery. Am I clear here?
Say it again, and then I did not quite catch it.
Okay. Say when you are restoring from a backup and recovering the database and trying to make the database in sync with the rest of the portions. I mean, the data files, everything has to be in sync, right? So due to some reasons, if Oracle is seeing that there is some SCN is missing, so I mean the SCN is getting applied, like 150 is there, so 150 to that will do a recovery. So what Oracle will be checking is that whether I have the information to make the next to 151. Okay, that information will be taken from the arclog backups. Due to some reasons, if any of the arclog file is missing, okay, so Oracle cannot skip that changes in the that particular arclog file. For example, arclog file 320 or 300 is having the SCN from 200 to 210. Okay, but due to some reason we lost our arclog file. So we applied we recover the database. We give all the arclog files up to 200. Okay, but for the changes for 201 or for changes for the 201 SCN, it is not with us. The arclog file is lost. Okay, in that case, you cannot skip and say, assuming that you don't have the 200 to 210, the redo information is not there, but 210 to everything is there, but there is no use. If you don't have a sequential changes of sequential information of the changes, then Oracle cannot reapply the changes to the database, which means you are ending up a situation where which you cannot recover the database beyond the 200 or beyond the SCN 200. That is obviously you will have the data loss which contain the changes from 200 to 320. This type of situations where there is a data loss is there, then that type of recovery is known as incomplete recovery. Am I clear here?
Yes.
Okay. So now the question is that what type of recovery that you want. Based on that, we are going to define our backup strategy. Okay. So obviously, production environments, we wanted to have the database to be completely recovered at any cost. So what is required is that we wanted to have our database to be in the arclog mode. If your database is not in the arclog mode, you know that whenever the online read log files are exhausted, Oracle is going to overwrite the online read log file, which means whatever the changes on that particular online read log file which is getting overwritten will be lost. So obviously, we cannot have the complete recovery. So if you wanted to have a complete recovery, one of the mandatory conditions that you should have the backup, or you should have your database in the arclog mode. Okay. So what if you don't have the database in the arclog mode? In the case, if you don't have the arclog file if you don't have the database in the arclog mode, very rare possibility that we will be able to do a complete recovery. The only one possibility of the complete recovery is that, say, assuming that you have taken the backup of a database which is running on the no arclog mode. Say you shut down the database, you took the backup, okay, and then you were working before your online rule of files getting overwritten. You got my point? I repeat, before your online rule of files getting overwritten, assume that one of your data file lost. In that case, you can recover or restore the data file which you took the backup just before, then open the database. So naturally, what happens that Oracle will be reapplying the changes in the online redo log file, because online redo log files was not overwritten. So that is, in that case, there is no data loss. So we can say that it's a complete recovery. So if due to a log switch, if the online redo log files are overwritten, then you cannot provide the database into recovery. You cannot guarantee the complete recovery if you are running your database in a non-arclog mode. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So what are the backups? So now we understood that there are two types of mode where in which we can enable. Say now if you're looking. Now we do have the two options. One is that this is archive log mode. Non-archive. Okay, here you can see that we have the option of complete recovery as well as incomplete recovery. We can have the complete recovery as well as the incomplete recovery. Okay. Here you have an option of a complete recovery. Complete recovery in the sense you can just restore from your previous backup. So it is ending in a situation where in which you don't have an option of reapplying the changes. And then the next option is that you can take the backup or you can take an online backup. In the other case, it is an offline backup. Okay, so so if your database is running on in a non-arclog mode, the only option is that you can take an offline backup. In the case of offline backup, you shut down the database. I will be doing the offline backup. Shut down the database and take the backup. And backup. Here you can take the backup while the database is up and running. DB is up. And also, if you want, say if you are running on arclog mode, if you wanted to take offline backup, that's also possible. So here we can say plus offline and offline backup. So if your database is running on the arclog mode, we can have both online as well as offline backup is possible. But if your database is running on the non-arclog mode, then only offline backups will be possible. Is that clear? Any questions?
It's clear.
Yeah. Clear. Okay. Now coming to the backup methodology, Oracle is having basically there are two types of backups what Oracle is having. One is that the physical backup and the other one is a logical backup. So logical backups logical backups are being taken when the database is up and running, and it is being taken with the utilities like export utility or export data pump. So basically the backup is taken place on the logical objects like table. So table is mostly the table is a unit of backup in the case of logical backup, in which you take an export or take an export data from and gather the or take the structure of the database and then put it on the in a binary format. Structure plus the data will be taken. So that backup, logical backup data, can be copied to some other database or some other, say maybe in another version of the database, or maybe the database, Oracle database, which is running on a different, say, different operating system. That's also possible. So you can take the backup of your logical backup of your database, which is running on the Windows, and then put it on Unix and then recover it. So that is basically logical backups, which can be taken only when the database is up and running. Database should be at least accessible in the read-only mode. Okay, but again, there is a problem is that if you are using the export data pump, then the database cannot be taken when the database in the read-only mode, because export data pump, what happens is that it is writing some data to some internal data dictionary table, so which will not be taken place if the database is in the read-only mode. Okay, now coming to the physical backups can be taken, classified into two areas or two sessions. One is that physical backups using operating system commands, where in which you shut down the data. For example, how you will be taking offline physical backups, then you shut down the database and then you copy all the data files to some backup location. Say for example, my backup is there on /user1/ or her data. Then I use the operating system CP command or the SCP command or whatever it be. I copy the data files from the source location to my backup location. So where which I am purely depending on the operating system. There is another variation for the operating system backup is that they are known as storage level snaps, where in which you put the table space into a begin backup mode, where which the writing of the data to the headers will be freezed. So then what happens is that you take the backup of the devices which are involved in your database, and then once the device level backup is completed, so that's known as snap backups, and then you will bring back the database into normal mode by giving command alter database end backup. Okay, so where in which you can see that it is purely here Oracle has no role. Oracle has only one role. It is just putting the database into, if you wanted to take an online backup, then you are just putting the database into begin backup mode, and then use the operating system or the storage level command. But on the other side, the other methodology is that using a proprietary tool from Oracle that is known as RMAN, or Recovery Manager, which was introduced on Oracle 8 onwards, where in which the backup is being taken by Oracle. Okay, so Oracle itself is taking the backup. So how that is happening? So coming to RMAN. Okay, so when you're taking RMAN, you have the option of taking a DB full database backup. Okay, so again, before coming to full database backup, RMAN can take, at least from Oracle 10G onwards, RMAN can take two types of backup. One is that the backup as backup. Sorry, one second. Backup as backup set. The second option is then backup as copy. So what's the difference between backup as backup set and backup as copy? So where in this one, the first one, backup as backup set, which means say RMAN will take, say RMAN will, there are two things are there. One is the source and the target location. The source is nothing but the database from which it's taking the backup. So from the source, it takes the backup of multiple data files and write it to a certain file, or try to take a specific file or a specific binary file, which can be understood, or which can be which can be restored, or which can be understood only by the RMAN utility itself. Okay, so that means that is the data from the backups is taken and returned to a specific format known as a backup set. Okay, so it is a binary format. Say it is not guaranteed, like maybe like if you are taking the backup of a database, it may create only one backup file. Okay, this backup set may contain one or more pieces known as backup pieces. Okay, so a database backup can contain one or more backup set, and each backup set may contain one or more backup pieces. Am I clear here?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're taking a backup of a database with the 5 data file, you may get one backup set, or one backup set containing one backup piece, or you may get one or more backup set which contains multiple backup pieces. Okay, but in the case of that is one format. But the drawback of that particular methodology is that, as you can see, that we need to have the RMAN itself to restore it. Okay, means you should use RMAN itself to read from there, and you have to restore it. So there are certain situations where the performance is a bit low when you are using the backup set. So what Oracle came up with from Oracle, at least if I remember correctly, from Oracle 10G onwards, that is backup as copy, where in which when you're telling the backup as copy, what happens then? Oracle is going to take the backup of individual data file as it had as the operating system copy is taking place, which means it is just equal to just a copy of the normal data files. It is not a backup set. It is not being by return the binary format or anything. So which means once you take the database backup as copy, you can even restore the backup to or the origin location using your operating system commands also. So you need not dependent on the RMAN to do the restoration and the recovery. So that's the advantage of the backup as copy.
Vimal, I've got a question here.
Yeah.
So this as good as copying from operating system using operating system commands, copy data file to backup location.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. So instead of issuing, if I have 10 data files, issuing 10 different commands, copy this data file 1 to backup location, copy data file 2 to backup location, copy data file 3 to backup location. In one single command using RMAN, backup as copy to this location, it will copy all the files into that location.
That's correct.
Okay. Restoration also, one line command, it will restore it back. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. So that way, RMAN can make even with the operating system kind of situation, RMAN can make our life a bit easier. But see, that was Oracle has designed this one to a certain specific requirement only. Otherwise, most of the places still RMAN people are using the backup set as the option, because it got certain other advantage, like the space will be less. Like say suppose if you are having a database of say assume that 10 GB, okay, but on the 10 GB you have only say actual data you created the database with the 10 GB, but the actual size of that particular database is only 3 GB. Okay, so when you're taking the backup as using backup set, Oracle has an option, or RMAN has an option of skipping the null blocks. Skipping the null blocks in the sense the blocks which are not at all utilized. So which means the space requirement what you need at the backup location is less compared to the size of the database. Am I clear?
Yes.
So that kind of that will not be possible in the case of using backup as copy. So due to that reasons, and we do have an option of compressing the backups from the RMAN itself using the backup if you're using the backup set, and then again you do have an option. Say for example, you can redirect the files to different like say you can take the backup to a particular location. You can have the archive files to different. You have a lot of customization possible when you are using the backup set. So due to that, many of the organizations or many of the DBS are preferring backup as backup set rather than backup as a copy. Am I clear?
Yeah.
So now the yeah, Logan, do you have any question?
Oh, audio was lost. Okay, yeah, good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, fine. So see, using RMAN, there are two types of multiple types of backups are possible. One, the full database backup. Second, a table space backup. Okay. Third one is that a data file backup. Okay, and then it can take also something called incrementable backup. Okay, so the full database backup. So in this case, say these three things. One is that the full database backup is possible while the DB is running on archive or non-archive. Both are possible. Archive or non-archive mode. Okay. Table space reliable backup is possible only when the DB is in archive mode. Data file, all the three things, that is the data file backup, incremental backups, everything is possible when the database is in the archive mode. Full database, if you wanted to take the online full database backup, then in RMAN also you need to have the database in the RClub. Am I clear? Okay. Fine.
So everywhere.
Now, since having, I'm sorry.
I mean, basically everywhere archive log mode is on, isn't it? Otherwise, no point in having a database production database.
Yeah, production databases, there is no question that most like I don't see any reason for not having a production database in the RClub. But the development databases are still people are maintaining, and even that was also an old story when Oracle came up with the RMAN and all. Like at the time, I think the hard disk and all it was quite costly. But nowadays the storage space is not a big deal. So even I have seen that all the place where I'm working, all the databases are running on the RClub mode, even whether it's a production or a QA or testing. So now people are not really bothered about the non-RClub situation.
Oh, okay.
But there are certain cases are there. Say for example, today we had a recovery scenario when which there is a corruption in the SysOx table space. So the problem is that the SysOx table space, it's a development database, but that database is running on the no RClub mode. So there is no way that we can recover the database. So there are certain issues are there. So preferably to have the database in the RClub mode. But if it is in non-RClub mode, there are certain other things which is associated with that one. Data loss or something like that.
Okay. You know, the previous bank I was working, they were not using RMAN. So they have backup done using EXXP export.
Oh, okay.
And
you said banking environment, right?
Yeah. Then
banking environment, how they are surviving with an export import? I mean, it's quite dangerous, no?
Quite dangerous, yeah. But then I told them it's dangerous, but they didn't listen. So export. Then if something crashed during lunchtime or in between, there is no way to, you know.
Yeah. Because export, you will not be able to do any incremental, even if you have the RClog file, even if you are running on the RClog mode.
Yeah.
But still, if you are using the export as your backup, then your data loss is guaranteed. For example, you take a backup of your database at 10 o'clock. I mean, you are took an export backup at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then you lost your data files at 12.
Yeah.
Then even if you have the RClog files, there is no other go. If you restore using the export database, you are creating a new database.
That's right.
And Oracle cannot, the RClog files of the other database cannot be uploaded on it.
No. Yeah, but they listen.
Yeah, that's their fate. We cannot do it on it.
Problem, not my problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now, so having understood that what are the different options of backup available with the RMAN. Now let's see from where or what, we know that there are 3 different stages of the database, right? So what are the stages at which we can take a database backup? So RMAN backups can be taken either in the, one is at open stage, second mount stage, and then very rare cases, it is also possible from no mount stage.
Oh, okay.
Very rare cases in the sense you are just taking the backup of your SP file or something like that. Because say in the case of a no mount stage, the only option is that you can have an SP file, nothing else beyond that. So if you wanted to say here, if you're, but this is actually, I would say that it's my own classification that there can be taken from the no mount stage. But as per the Oracle documentations, it is only 2 stages, that is open stage and mount stage. Okay. So when the database in the open, so suppose if you wanted to take a called backup in RMAN, okay, at that time you can take or called backup, or it's also known as called backup or offline backup. So when you wanted to take an offline backup, then you must shut down your database, bring back the database to mount stage and take a backup from there. If you are opening the database, if you open the database, then you can take only online backup. Fine. Any questions here?
And the question is, so suppose I'm running a database in a no archival mode, but I want to take backup, cold backup.
Okay.
Because I can't take a backup when the database is up and running.
That's right.
So I shut down the database. I don't want to take operating system level copy backup. I want to use RMAN backup to the cold backup. How will I do that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I told you. You have to say RMAN can forget about the no mount stage. So RMAN can work on mount and open stage.
Okay.
So in your case, mount stage is not possible because the database in the is not in the arclog mode.
Right.
So shut down your database, bring back the database to the mount stage, and from there you take a backup.
Okay.
So that will be a called backup.
Okay.
Okay, because a database is opened, then we consider the database as an open database when it is beyond the mount stage. I mean, it is opened either in the read-only mode or read-write mode.
Okay.
So in the mount stage, there are no changes on the data files because data files are not accessed. So but control file is there. RMAN will be able to take the file structure and everything.
Okay.
Because for RMAN, say. For RMAN, the control file, the most important part for the RMAN backups are the control file. So, control file RMAN depends on the control file for two stages basically. One is that to get the structure of the database. RMAN should know what are the data files is there, which location the data files are there. It can get only from the control file. Second, RMAN keep this information about the backups, like at what time it has taken backup. What type of backup is there, whether it's an incremental backup, whether it's an arclog backup, or what location the backup was taken, at what time, what was the size of the backup. A complete information about the backups are stored in the control file itself. You got my point?
Got it.
Yeah. So RMAN, here there are certain confusing terminologies are also there. So let's take that terminologies as well. One of the common terminology what we'll be using with the target database. Okay. So target database is the database on which we are taking the backup, or DB for which we take backup. Which means say I have a database called MyDB. I want to take the backup of the MyDB. So what happens then? You are connecting to the MyDB database itself, either in the no mount stage or in the open stage. Either in the mount stage or open stage. You connect it to that database, and from the database itself you are taking the backup. So when you connect it to the database on which you wanted to take, or for which you want to take the database backup, that database is known as a target database. Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay. So the target database for which, say, the target database control file is the RMAN, is the place for the RMAN repository. RMAN repository in the sense the information about the RMAN backups itself is stored in the control file. So control file is having a variable area. Say control file, if you're looking at the Oracle control file, you can see that there are assuming that control file is this area. Oracle has divided the control file into two areas. One is a fixed area, and then other one is a rotation area. Okay, so which means the fixed area is used for storing the information about the, I mean, that is the place where Oracle is storing the information about the database in that area, like the path of the data files, the size of the data files, all this information will be there in the fixed area. Okay, the rotation area or the variable area will contain the information about the RMAN backups. So this rotation area is being decided by a parameter called the control file _keep_time. Okay, So by default, if you're looking, a database will be having a control file keep time for 7 days, which means Oracle will be storing the backup information for 7 days. Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay. So once you beyond that, like say, once the days are increasing, and if you have not changed the control file keep time, then your old backup information will be purged from the control file. Right? Yeah. Now the next one is that next type of this point is very much mandatory, because many of times there is another place where Oracle can store the say catalog database. Okay. So there is another area where RMAN can store this information. So say, as I explained earlier, the control file, the backup information which is stored in the control file is not a persistent data, which means that information will be purged periodically. Depends upon your control file keep time. And you cannot have a control file keep time to infinity, because there is a limit for a control file can be grown based on the operating system. So if you keep that control file infinity for like years, then it will grow up to a level where which control file will reach the operating system limit. Okay. So you naturally you cannot have the control file to be keep on increasing. And obviously a bigger control file will have a bad performance on the database.
So what is the default value?
7 days. Control file keep time is 7 days.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so Oracle is giving another option is that you can permanently store this data. Like I say, the backup information about or the information about the backups can be stored on another database, and that particular database is also catalog database. Okay. Catalog database means it is actually a schema which you create, and that schema will be having certain data dictionary objects will be there. So when you are telling that I wanted to keep my information about the backup information on the catalog database, what internally happens is that there will be a syncing will be taking place from control file to the catalog. You got this point? A sync catalog periodically. Sync between control file and the catalog, which means whenever a backup is taking place, the backup information will definitely be returned to the control file, and then it will be synced with the catalog. So which means, suppose you are taking the backup backup of a database and you are using the catalog. So the question, another interview question will be to you will be that if I lost my catalog, what will happen? There is nothing to worry. As long as your control file is safe, you will be able to restore from that control file, or restore based on the information on the control file, and will be able to record the database.
Which has 7 days of data. Which is 7 days.
With 7 days of data. So Oracle will be say remember, the control file keep time doesn't mean that the backup is stored on there. Backup will be stored in some other place.
Right.
The physical files, what I'm telling you.
Right.
But the data dictionary information about the backups, like say 2 days back, what was the location at which the backup was taking place, or where Oracle, because while restoring also Oracle is going to read this information only. You got me? Say for example, you wanted to restore the database. At that time, Oracle will read the control file, and from the control file where the path is there, from there it will try to restore. So the backup information, as long as the backup informations are there on the control file, and you have the actual backup pieces there at the operating system level or the tape media, then you will be able to restore, even if you lost your catalog database.
The backup files are not stored in catalog, right? Catalog database. They are all stored separately.
See, that's what I'm telling you. Say catalog is a place for the data dictionary holding.
Okay, okay.
Okay, it's not for the physical files. The physical files, say for example, I issue a command called say backup database. Okay, this one is format / Aura backup. This is my command. So what happens is then, this backup, once this command is completed, the backup is will be getting created to /aura backup. Am I clear?
Okay.
Once this command is completed, the path there will be a file for say for example /aura backup backup then underscore XYZ. I'm just giving so a file is created. So this file is known as our backup set or backup piece. Okay, and say piece and say it is having with the size of say 1 GB. Okay, so this is actually the file which got created was at /aura backup /backup underscore EXY. This is the backup is name and it's of 1 GB. So this is actually the physical file. But at the same time, control file, there will be an information will be there. A full database backup is completed successfully, and the backup piece is located on this location with the size. So the complete information about the backup, how much time it took, everything will be stored on this control file. Or and from the control file, if you're using a catalog, the information will be synced with the catalog as well. Is that clear now?
Yes.
And there is another terminology is known as auxiliary database. Okay. So auxiliary database is a database. Say for example, when you're doing a cloning or when you're trying to create a database from another database. So when you're doing the cloning, that kind of actually is known as cloning or refresh. I think you guys would have done it earlier, at least using the physical backups or something like that. So the database to which you are restoring, that database is known as, say for example, you are taking just a simple example. Say your requirement is that refresh or refresh the production database, that is MRP prod to MRP dev. This is a requirement. So what you are going to do is that you are going to take the backup of the MRP prod and then restoring to MRP dev. So that's what you are going to do. And this process is known as a refresh or cloning. So the database from which you are taking the backup, that is MRP prod, is known as our target database. And the database to which you are restoring the database, or your source, or your target, the actual target database, is known as the auxiliary database. So with RMAN technology or RMAN terminology, your source database or the database from which you are taking the backup is known as the target database, and the database to which you are restoring the database is known as the auxiliary database. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, how there is something, and now certain other terminologies known as a channel. Okay. So you will be seeing that this terminology very often. So what is a channel? Channel is nothing but a communication stream between the database and the RMAN. For example, say you how the channel is being written. So say the basic example, that is the backup database format, and you are giving a location, which means the RMAN utility is going to connect to the database, and then from there it reads from the database or read from the database and write it. So which means how Oracle is so what happens is that say Okay. So here what happens, here what is that? This is the source data.
I can see the screen though instantaneously.
You're not able to see it?
I see. Okay, I got it. Sorry.
Okay.
I have to go down. Okay, good.
Okay, this is the database memory. And this is the backup location. So this is how in simple words. See, we need not really go through this architecture and all to work with RMAN, but if you understand that, it will be quite easy whenever you are getting some errors. So what happens then? Say here, what RMAN does is that RMAN reads the database blocks. Okay, so which means the blocks are being read here. Okay, and then blocks are compared in the memory, and then it is written, it is checked in the memory for any errors. So RMAN, one of the other advantage of RMAN is that RMAN will not be copy the corrupted blocks. Suppose your block is corrupted at your operating system level. Okay, so that is one of the common recovery scenario. There is a block corruption is there. So RMAN will not allow the block corruption. So what does is that when RMAN, when you tell a RMAN to take a backup, it reads from the data, the physical, the source data files. The blocks are brought into the memory of the database, there in which it is cross-checking and it's verified for any errors. And it will, Oracle will, or RMAN will make sure that RMAN is going to copy only the consistent blocks only. So it will wait till the database becomes consistent for that particular block, and from there the data will be returned to the backup location. So there is what happens that there is a stream of data is moving from the database files to the memory, and there is one more stream is moving from data files to the from the memory to the backup location. And this stream of data which is moving from moving towards memory as well as moving out of memory is known as a channel. So basically, when you issue a command backup database, there are two channels are opened. One is for input stream and the other one is at output stream. So normally the channels, whenever we are telling that the channels are, or whenever we are deciding the channels, this complete stream, that is this input output stream, is considered a single channel. So which means, say now assuming that I have a 10 GB database is there, and I wanted to take the backup much faster. I mean, I want to take a database faster. So what we can do is that we can tell RMAN to start up multiple channels. Normally there is only one channel, but here what happens is that you can start multiple channels. Say you have your system or your operating system is having, say, some 10 CPUs are there. So if you are starting some for process, it's not going to create a memory constraints or anything, or it's not going to slow down your system. So you can tell Oracle that you wanted to start at least 4 channels. So that means 4 input-output stream will be created, and this input-output stream is known as channel. So what happens is it can read from multiple processes, can read from the data file, check in the memory whether any corruption is there, and then finally consistent images can be returned back to the backup location. That way you can increase your performance of your backups.
What is the correlation between number of CPUs and channels? One CPU, one channel, or one CPU, two channels?
Say it is not like that. Say for example, it's a simple logic we can apply. I'm not telling about the theoretical. I'm just telling about from the practical point of view. Okay. Say at any point of time, a computer's processors can handle only one instruction.
Yes.
Right. That means if you have 3 CPUs are there, at any point of time, it cannot. The 3 CPUs can handle maximum 3 instructions only.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you are a processor, if your system is having 4 or 5 CPUs, then you leave one CPU for the normal operating system activities. The other 4 CPUs you can start for parallel process. Like say you can not only on RMAN, anywhere. It's like suppose if you are telling about your operating system copy commands are there, right? So what happens is that you can create your data file copy commands into 4 commands and you execute that 4 commands parallelly. It will not have much impact to the system. System will not slow down. But what happens is that if you have 4 CPUs are there and you start up some say 10 parallel process, or you have given a parallelism at the database like 10. In that case, what happens there? At any point of time, Oracle can handle only for, the operating system can handle only for instructions. So other instructions, whether it's a reading, writing, or whatever, we have to wait. You got me?
Yes.
So always from the there are different theories are there. You can give double of the number of process and all. But from the practical, I have experienced that if you are increasing more than the number of CPUs, definitely it is going to slow down in other places. Maybe your database may be performing better, but at the same time, the operating system level other commands, like say you have some backup commands or something is there, it's going to slow down. So to have everything smooth running, always leave one or two CPUs, like one of the two processors lesser than the maximum number of CPUs. Is that clear?
Okay.
Okay. Now, channels, backups. Okay. Now let's take a simple command. Okay, let's try to explain based on this one. You're able to see my screen, right? So let me connect it to one of the database servers. Okay, let's see any database already up and running. Yes, okay, you can see that there is a database called the cities there. So I'll set the environment variables for that database. Okay. Now, how I can invoke RMAN? So RMAN is an executable which is there in the already at the Oracle Home your Oracle Home /bin directory. So which is a path of RMAN? Which RMAN? You can see that the path of RMAN is my the Oracle Home directory /bin/RMAN. Right. Now, since I already set up my environment variable, I can just issue the command RMAN. Okay. So the connection to the RMAN connection. So now the next is I invoked the RMAN, but I have not say now. Let's try to issue command backup database. It says that it is not connected to the target database. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So the first step is that RMAN, if RMAN has to work, RMAN has to connect it to the database on which it has to take a backup. That connection can be of two different ways. One is that it can connect by using a direct operating system command, or it can connect using Oracle networking. Right. So what let's see how we are going to use the without or using the operating system authentication. So what I am giving is a connect target /. Here I am using the operating system authentication. I have not given any username or password because I have logged in as the Oracle user who is the owner of the software, then which I will be able to connect it to the database with the super user privilege. Am I clear here?
Yes.
Okay. So here you can get some additional information. That is, it is connected to the target database. Database name is city, and the DB ID is a unique identification number is this one, and Oracle it is using the target database control file for storing the backup related information. Clear? Yeah. Now let's exit from here, and let's try to use the other method, that is Oracle networking. Now I issue the command connect sys/Oracle @city. Sorry, I have to give connect target sys/Oracle @city. Now I think the TNS entry is wrong. Let me clear it. Connect target sys/Oracle @city TNS. Okay. Here you can see that I have connected to the target database. The command is same, connect to target. That is mandatory. It should have either, I explained about the three type of databases. One database is target database. That means the database on which we are going to take the backup. Second is that catalog database, which is going to store the information about the backups if you wanted to use a catalog database. And the third one is an auxiliary database. This is the target, this is the database to which you are going to do the restoration or going to do the cloning. These are the three.
Good explanation. I did not catch this for a long time. Good explanation. Thank you.
No problem. So this is how it happens. So you have only three options. So we have to specify that to what type of database you are going to connect. That means you are going to connect to the target. Then you have to either give the operating system authentication, or you have to give the database authentication or network authentication. So here we are using the network authentication. Am I clear? Okay. Now it's also that we may have to work on the multiple databases in the same RMAN session. For example, when you are doing a cloning, what happens that you connect it to both your target database as well as your auxiliary database, and then issue the cloning command. So when you are connecting to the multiple databases, only one session or only one connection can use the operating system authentication. All the other connections has to use the network authentication. Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay, that means, say if you are on the same RMAN session, you are giving the command connect the target / and then you will give the connect auxiliary sys/oracle@ the TNS entry. So you are connecting to both your target database as well as for your auxiliary.
I have a question here. See, I have a target database and auxiliary database. Both are in the same box, same hardware. Even in that case, I have to do the same.
Yeah, same. Here, let me ask you a question. When I issue the connect target, connect target / how it correctly went into the city database?
Because when we it is set up in our dot profile file.
Yeah, that means in the dot profile file, or in another word, it is from the environment variable oracle_sid82.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can have only one oracle sid in a session.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So which gives the answer why I have to use the second place the network connectivity. Even if I have on the same server with the physical server with multiple databases.
Got it.
So that's clear. Let's have RMAN connect target. Okay. Now let's see what is the status of our database. So we'll just give an SQL select open_mode from $database. Okay, it may not be working. We have to come out. We can run certain commands from the RMAN, but all the commands are not possible. Okay, so select open_mode from $database. Database in read mode. We'll also verify whether the DB is log list. Whether the database is the arclog mode. Here the database is arclog mode. Okay. Now we'll just invoke RMAN and take a complete database backup. RMAN connect target backup database. So here you can see that. Here you can see a lot of information. The information that is displayed on the screen. One is that it's starting the backup on the date. Here the system date is here my system's timestamp is different. So anyway, it is going to show what is the current system timestamp on the system. Then you can see that it is started a channel. You remember it is started since by default it will be channel only one channel will be there. The channel is given with a name aura_disk_1 because my backup is going to take place to the disk itself, right? And then it is taking that it's going to be it's taking a full database backup, full database backup set, right? And which are the input files for this one? There are 4 input files are there. Okay, that backups it has taken and returned to my flashback recovery area because I have not specified any other location for my backups to be taken. So it is a flash recovery area. You can see that it is being taken to my database flash recovery area, the name of the database backup set, and it's on one for information. And then when it is writing to the control file, it writes a tag also, which will help me for finding out the backup information later point of time. And then it has the backup information there, and then and now next you can see that when I took the full database backup, it took the backup of the control file as well as the SP file, which are being again created a new piece, and that piece name is also, or that piece also going to my flash recovery area. And so which means now we have a single backup set which contain one backup set contain the one backup set contains 2 backup pieces. One backup piece contains the data file backups, and other backup piece contains the control file and the SP file backups.
So in this case, what is the backup set number, backup piece number, or name?
Here you can see that. Okay. Now let's to understand this one, let's give a command list backup. List backup is a command which will be listing the backup information. Okay. Now you can see that if you are looking, there are backup set list of, you can see that the backup set is 11. Okay, and you can see that it contains a backup piece. The piece name is, this is the piece name. Okay, which contains the 4 data files.
Okay.
Okay, and you can see that another piece is there which contains another piece and which contains the control file.
SP file too.
You can see that it contains both SP file and the control file.
Okay, good.
Okay, and you can see that they are belonging to the same backup set. That is the tag. If you're looking, both are the same tag.
So the backup set is identified by tag, and backup set number, in this case 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will be clearly, if you issue a list backup command, it will be clearly tell you what is your backup set and what are the backup pieces, everything it will be there.
Okay. Good.
Fine, is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so you can, from here itself, you can see that what is the size of your backup. Say, for example, it is 94.73 MB, and the control file backups as well as SP file is carrying 12.73 MB. And there are a lot of other, say, at what SCN. So, which means, say, if you are trying to restore this backup, from what SCN Oracle will be looking, because the checkpoint SCN at which the backup is to be taken as 2677863. So, which means if you restore and if you start the recovery, it requires a change that is 2677864. It's required. That changes you have to provide from your RKLog files or online reader files or whatever.
There are 2 questions. There is one number 9.61 meg at the top. What is that?
No, that is a previous backup. You look at the date.
Oh, okay. That's previous.
Okay, because here this database is being undergone several backups.
Okay.
So that's what I told you. RMAN will be keeping information. That's how much it will be keeping till the control file keep time is there.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay, so
is this clear?
okay. Okay. Another question.
Mm-hmm.
By default, when I take nightly RMAN backup, where does the RMAN log goes? Is there an RMAN log or RMAN log file?
No, RMAN don't have a log file.
Okay.
Say RMAN keeps writing the information to the screen.
Okay.
Okay. But you can redirect. Say now if question is that suppose I'm scheduling a job. If RMAN is going to write the output to screen, and if I'm scheduling a backup at my midnight, and how I'll be getting the output. The reason is that first reason is that all the successful backups information you can get from the list backups.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second option is that you can redirect the output what RMAN is showing to the screen to a log file. You have to issue a command. For that, you cannot use the RMAN how we did now. You have to use a scripting of the RMAN, or you have to use a parameter file for RMAN. In that parameter file, there is one option that log equal to, you can give a path. So what happens that instead of displaying to the screen, RMAN will be writing to that particular log file. Am I clear?
Yes.